Welcome, my friends, episode 99. In this episode, we talk about making homemade Sculpt-a-mold, painting track with craft paints, using photos to help your backdrop out, right? And what to do kind of if you're in a slump. So, um, you know what? Stick around because we're going to get this show on the tracks. Welcome, my friends, episode 99. That just sounds so good. Episode 99. We're getting closer. So after this episode, that means we have, I'm counting right, 5 more. So we'd have 100, 101, 102, 103, and then 104, which would mark the 2-year anniversary, the 104th episode of this podcast, since we do weekly and there's 52 weeks in a year. So I'm really excited about that. We've got a couple guests coming on. That is a really good episode that we're going to do. And I think that's going to be that's just going to be kind of a sit back, few people sitting there talking about model trains. So, as we said in our intro, we are starting this out with, I'm sure you've seen it, whether it be on YouTube or online or whatever, people that use Sculpt-a-mold to help build their railroad, whether it be help building mountains or just even if you're doing flatland prairies, but you want the rolling hills kind of thing, using Sculpt-a-mold, right? Great product. I personally have never really used it up until this point. However, I've known people that have used it, and I was always kind of the plaster cloth and then plaster and using foam bits and plastic over or plaster over it, that kind of thing, paper towels kind of thing. Um, so I got to thinking, well, on this railroad, even though I'm not going to have like hills and mountains, obviously, because I'm doing a city scene more or less, or a in town kind of stuff. I do have spots that I'm going to need something like Sculpt-a-mold to put in the variation so it's just not flat, because even, let's face it, in towns, unless it's a small, you know 3 or 4 miles square town that's flat, that what I'm doing is basically two cities that are next to each other, and I'm kind of mimicking eastern Iowa. So there are definitely some hills in this area, but I'm like, I want to try that. Plaster works great. I have no problems using plaster. However, the issues I always have, which if you're new to the hobby, you may not know this, but those that have been in the hobby will completely understand this. Plaster, you depending on how thick you put plaster down, you have to deal with the dreaded cracks. Plaster will crack as it dries, and then you have to go back, and like when I did my grade crossing, I used plaster, and I basically, it was actually pre-mixed plaster, joint compound, same kind of thing, but either way, um, I had to do it in layers in order to keep it from cracking, and I still ended up having cracks that I had to sand down and skim coat it and sand it, and and it was a process. Now, I'm not saying to use this for roads. You can use it for like the base of your roads. Let's say you're doing a road going up a hill or something. You can use it for the base. Um, I don't know that I would use it for the finished road. You still probably want to use some other product. Whether I know Woodland Scenics has some good stuff for, what do they call it, paver stuff, and you basically pave it like what they do in real life. You put your side strips on and mix up their compound and pour it in and trowel it off, basically skim it off. But what I'm talking about is homemade Sculpt-a-mold, because regular Sculpt-a-mold it's not cheap, but I'd seen videos on doing homemade Sculpt-a-mold. So I looked at them. Okay, well, what's needed? What's the best, people have used like um, toilet paper, egg cartons, newspapers, that kind of thing. And there's various different ways. I know the people that I've seen a lot that have done the toilet paper way of doing this. Their biggest complaint was when you're trying to smooth it out, you start getting the clumps of toilet paper. Um, I opted to go and I kinda did a mixture. I haven't seen anybody that has ever mixed these 2 things. You would and my theory was, well, I mean, it was all paper at one point, right? Or it was all a tree at one point before it became, an egg carton or newspaper, right? Um, so I had not only did I made my own, I used, those little, oh, what are they? The drink holders that you get from, like, say, McDonald's or something. They're recyclable, paper product. I had some newspaper, um, actual newspaper from ads and stuff, and then I actually had a couple milk cartons, or I'm sorry, not milk cartons, egg cartons. I think I said milk cartons before, but I meant egg cartons, so forgive me. I make mistakes too once in a while. Um, so most recyclable what I found from this process is most recyclable material, paper materials can be used within reason. Um, and so what I did find out is basically you need something like that consistency in newspaper, egg cartons, or the alike. The other thing you're gonna need is a blender, or what I found out because I messed up, I ended up getting a food processor. Um, my blender was an old blender I had. I asked the girlfriend, we had 2 of them, and she didn't care. We don't use it very often. If I think we in the I can't even tell you how long we've been together. I think we've used it once or maybe twice, the one that we use for food. So I'm like, "Well, I'll use this old one, fine." So I started putting I ripped up the paper and the chunks, put it in, put some hot water in there, turned it on, worked great, got through, basically made my first batch. And I'll get back to what happened here in a bit. And then once I did that, I took, you can cheesecloth, well, like something like a cheesecloth, you might want a little bit more, I guess, straining power, if you will. But basically, you want to be able to put it in like they do making cheese and stuff like that. Put it in some sort of cloth to where you can actually squeeze out as much of the water as you can. They say baking it. Well, I tried that and that doesn't work. I would not recommend doing that inside your house, because you spread it out in chunks on like a old cookie sheet. But the baking it inside is not good unless it's on a nice spring, summer, fall day where you can have all the windows open. And even then, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Um, I ended up, uh, I ended up after I found that out, I ended up pulling the cookie sheet out and letting it just air dry. Basically, the baking, all that does is just help speed up the drying process. So after several weeks, probably more closer to a few months, I ended up, and I'll get back to this. I ended up buying a food processor, and using, and I went on to Amazon. I think I spent 40 between 40 and $50 on a food processor. Nothing very, very fancy. Because let's face it, look at what we're doing with it. You don't want a high dollar one, because you do take a chance of burning them up, and I'll get back to that. And so the one I got had the regular chopping blade in the bottom, and I think most of them are like this, where you have the chopping blade in the bottom, and then you have like a slicing, dicing kind of thing on the top. Well, what I found is I had both of them in there, and basically the little chute you can put it in, I would take these dried up clumps of paper, basically pulp, and I ran them in there, and just it does take a while to really chop everything up and get it that fine fiber. And even then, you can't get it 100%. But after doing that, I you did it in batches and dumped it into a big old baggie, and once I was done, I slowly worked through putting in my plaster, shaking it up, and then going from there, trying to find the right combination of plaster to Sculpt-a-mold. Now, to get back to what I keep saying, I'm gonna get back to, the thing is, when you are making this, grinding up the newspaper or the egg cartons or what have you, do it in small batches, folks. Don't do like I did, like, oh, well, this blender's barely even a quarter way full, with water and this stuff. Um, I need, I kept putting more and more water in. Yeah, I ended up burning up my blender. Not physically burning up, but yeah, I tripped something on the circuit board, and it's a dead blender now. So that's why I end up taking advice from the girlfriend saying, well, why don't you do a food processor, because they're about the same price for an inexpensive blender, and you have more room for the material to move around in, and generally speaking, food processors have a little bit more power, a little bit more speed, and in the end, I believe that's probably a better way. Now, if you don't want to go buy one and you have a blender, definitely you can use it. However, do it in small batches because you don't want to burn it up. The other thing, looking back onto it, if it's something that you think you might want to try, it is kind of fun to make. Um, I w- when I if I have to make another batch, I know for a fact that I will have more water than what I did before to blend this up, because I mean this was like a slurry mess. And unfortunately, because I wasn't thinking and kept adding paper and water, I didn't leave myself enough room to be able to add more water. I guess what I should have done, basically, instead of adding more paper product, I should have just added more water, because you really want that stuff to really blend up and get down to the fibers. So, um, and there again, also don't use a good cookie sheet. Make sure you have an old one. I have one that the girlfriend was going to throw away, and I'm like, wait, I can use that for modeling somehow. So, um, definitely something to think about. Look it up. There's YouTube videos. I'm thinking about creating a video for our YouTube channel. However, it's got to be a multi-step. It's not like I can make it one day, because I have to make the pulp, and then I have to let that, once I make that, I have to let that dry, and then that'll probably take a few weeks, and then I'll have to video doing the other stuff. So I am planning on doing a video on that on our YouTube channel when it comes out, when I'm able to make it and I'm in that spot. I can't tell you, but there's plenty of videos out there that show you that are good videos, and so I would recommend looking into that. All right, now moving on. There is the adage of painting your track using an airbrush, doing this, doing that. Um, why do we paint the track? Well, let's face it, we don't want, yeah, while manufacturers, I will give them credit. I know Atlas in like their Code 83 line, their Code 83 is black ties, or I'm sorry, not black ties, brown ties, or you can get concrete ties. Um, Micro engineering, they use brown colored ties, they're plastic and stuff like that. And unless you are hand laying or using fast tracks, that kind of thing, to where you're actually using like wood stain to stain wood ties, it's really hard to lay down manufactured track and not touch it and have it look real. And I know we've talked about this before, but because it's funny, because track is what we want to be able to run our trains, and we want it to be prototypical, which means we need to make it look like, basically, so it doesn't stand out when you're running your trains, but yet it's an integral part of it, right? So, um, I have in the past done the airbrushing thing where you use two different colors, use like a railroad tie brown kind of thing and spray from straight above, spray your ties, and then come back with, I've used rust colored, I've used railroad tie brown, where I've added a little red to it to give it a slightly different, and come at a low angle and with an airbrush and a narrow pattern, and paint your sides of your rails. I know people have used cans of spray paint and stuff like that, which I wouldn't recommend if your layout is inside, unless you can uh, really ventilate the area and you don't have a lot of stuff. If you know, you don't, all your stuff's put away basically, because let's face it, rattle can spray paint, the particles will float, and even if they're dry, they still will settle on stuff, and then you have all that cleaning. So a technique I had seen, oh, this has been quite some time ago, but is using, like, what are they? Not, uh, I can't think of what the brand is, but you can get them from like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, a craft store, craft paint. They come in like they, the little tubes that look like a roll of quarters, or you can get them in bigger amounts as well. And it, I tried it out on a few spots, and I'm running, with the exception of my Montana yard, I am running Atlas Code 83, which is your regular nickel silver rail with brown plastic ties. And I'm like, well, I wanted a way that I didn't have to get my airbrush out, even though I like my airbrush and it's got its place, it's got its use, and I will use it down the road. But right now, for with me doing my track and where I'm at, I don't want to set it up and only do a small section. And then you have to do cleanup. You have to clean an airbrush whenever you're done using it. It's not like you you can just put it away and, oh, I'm coming back to it tomorrow or a couple hours later. You have to clean it when you're done. Otherwise, you're going to be messing. You potentially could be messing up your airbrush. So I wanted to find a technique that didn't involve an airbrush, that didn't involve rattle can spray paint, and didn't involve painting each individual tie. Well, I there again, going doing research, looking online, YouTube. I found some videos, watched videos. I can't even tell you how many videos I watched, and the technique was all the same. The colors are different based on what you're modeling. What kind of track are you modeling? But I I painted a section. I've done several sections. I just recently did another section that I'm trying to get scenic up for. It's basically when you come down the stairs. I'm trying to get that section mostly done for scenery, just because it's the flagship when you walk down of, oh, hey, that there's a railroad down here. But what I had found is, and a lot of people don't, it can be confusing of, where do I start? What do I need if I want to hand paint my track? Well, for starters, like I said, that craft paint. I use black, white, and then just a couple of browns. I usually generally have a darker brown and then just somewhat of a lighter brown. You can go based off of the colors, but different brands have different colors of that craft paint. So that's basically what I use as far as paint. Um, then I have just a little tub of water. So like I use our laundry detergent. We buy it in the big jugs, gallon jugs, and they have that little plastic cap that you use to dump your laundry detergent in. Well, I save those when the jug's done, and I use them for this purpose, mixing stuff like that. So I have one of those with some water in it. Now I use a plastic mixing tray, palette, if you will. I have a couple of them. I got them off Amazon. Yeah, people are going to ask for links. There's tons of them out there. You just have to find the one that suits you. Um, and your price range. You don't need anything expensive. Let's face it, we're mixing paint on it. It's eventually going to get thrown away. Who cares? Find something cheap. Or if you don't want to do that, if you if you eat fast food, like I know as an example, like Chinese, a lot of times they put them in those plastic trays and stuff. You can use one of those. You know, you already ate your food. Well, don't throw them away. Wash them out, save them, and you can use them perfect for this. But something that you can use paper plate, but depending on how much track you are planning on painting, it'll start potentially could start soaking through. So if you do go the paper plate route, I would recommend making sure you have like some either tin foil or aluminum foil that is, or wax paper or something under it, so it doesn't, if you have it sitting on track or next to you where you're painting, it doesn't soak through. And then really the only other thing I use for the initial painting is I bought a batch of brushes when I first got back into the hobby off, I think it was Amazon. I don't remember where I bought it from, but I got a ton of like little tiny ones and then medium sized ones. And I want to say they got like 8 or 10 fluffy ones. And the size of these fluffy ones, I would say they're a tad smaller than like what women use to put the makeup on their cheeks. I don't know what you call it, but that they're a tad smaller than that, but they're fluffier like that. And now that's the brush I use when I'm painting the track because I'm wanting to cover the most that I can in a shorter amount of time. Now, mixing up your colors, let's go there. I generally start with I'll take my white and I'll scoop it. Mind you, my color palette, I've got several, it's got several different, what do you call it, compartments, if you will. So I'll have my colors in their own compartments. Well, then I'll take, I'll start with white and scoop it into a fresh compartment. Then I'll take my browns and get it to about the right brown I want. Then I'll take my black and go in there and mix it up. Now, I'll also, while I'm doing this in between, like I'll scoop the white in, before I go grab the brown, I'll dip my brush in and get water on it and, take some water 2 or 3 times from the water container over to the palette. And then I'll grab the brown and mix it up because this whole time it's easier to see the color it's going to be when you have the water mixed in because we can mix the paint and ahead of time and like the color, but as soon as you start thinning it down, the color is going to change because you're changing the pigments, you're breaking down the pigments more. So it's better to mix that water in while you're mixing your color. But then you just mix your color. I like to go with I'm going a little more grayish, darker, like a grayish brown, light, not super light, but not super dark, like black, but like a I would say from like a lighter charcoal color to a medium gray, but brownish in it, if that makes sense. And you want it thin enough, basically get it on that brush but you want to wipe it off. I want to say dry brushing. You're not getting to the point of actually dry brushing, but you want to get a majority off so you don't get the paint clumped up in between the ties. But if you do, you can always go back with this brush and work that area, drag the paint out and stuff. But then I just simply paint it on. I paint the rails, I paint everything. I do a section, like the last section I did, I think I did, well, it was a double track section, like where I have a siding, and I did probably 3 foot of it. It didn't really take that long. And when it was all said and done, I let it sit for about 5-10 minutes. I took a paper towel and doubled it up and put it on my pointer finger, and I just carefully went across the top of the ties, or I'm not the ties, I'm sorry, the rails, to wipe off any excess paint. So easier to clean down the road. And then I let it sit overnight. Let it dry really, really good. And then while I'm doing this paint though, let me back up here. While I'm painting the track, I've got my base color. A lot of times what I'll do is after I've done a little section, I'll go into the dark brown or the light brown or even the white or whatever and just touch the brush in that color, grab some more of my thinned out paint and start painting more. That way you're adding a little variation to your track and rail. But then once it's all dried, and in fact, I just did this morning a little bit. I took some light gray, I think, what is it? Something Barrel. That's not Cracker Barrel. That's a restaurant. I can't think of Barrel, Craft Barrel or something like that paints that I get from our Hobby Lobby or online. I want to say it's like country gray was the color. Then I just put a little bit on like a piece of cardboard actually and just dry brushed. I went through and dry brushed one tie here, there, or a few of them here or there. Or I did like a group of them, and some of them I put the gray on a little bit lighter. Some I just like when it's all said and done, it'll add to the effect, but you may not see it. Just to give it that little bit lighter variation, because let's face it, ties fade as time goes on. So, but um, I'm excited to be able to get this section done. I have a few more ideas that I want to do in this area, but I knew that I needed to get that track painted. So there are ways to paint track to make it look more realistic and without having to dig out the airbrush, because I know a lot of people like the airbrush, not cutting down the airbrush. I enjoy using the airbrush and I enjoy the effects of it because you can get some really good effects. In fact, my railroad, when I first started building it, I wanted to try to stay ahead of the game, and I was painting track with the airbrush, and what looks great because you can really get the ties one color, and you can really separate between the ties and the rails a little pretty decent without having to go down with like a micro brush and actually paint the rails. Um, but it does take time, and you have to clean your airbrush when you're done if you only want to do a little section, that kind of thing. So, just something to think about using craft paints. I'm thinking about doing a YouTube video on that too, because let's face it, I have a ton of track to paint. So I'll probably be doing a YouTube video on that as well. So yeah, we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we're actually going to talk about using photos on your backdrop to give depth. So stick around because we'll be back shortly.
Union Pacific fans, are you looking to expand your heritage fleet? Broadway Limited Imports has you covered with two prototypically accurate passenger cars, perfect for your steam excursion train or office car special. Coming to HO and shipping this fall, BLI is proud to introduce Power Car number 2066 and Fox River Theater Inspection Car. These stunning models feature road-specific details, accurate era-specific paint schemes, color match finishes to blend seamlessly with Walther's excursion cars. Just like their popular Kennefic cars, these will be the perfect addition to your UP excursion train. Whether you're running steam or diesel power, don't wait. Place your order by April 24th to secure yours.
Calling all model railroaders and railroad enthusiasts. The Hawkeye Model Railroad Club and ScaleSigns.com are proud to sponsor the 5th annual Iowa City Train Show on Sunday, October 19th at the Johnson County Fairgrounds in Iowa City, Iowa, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Enjoy two buildings packed full of model railroad items in scales HO, N, O, and more, along with railroad memorabilia of all shapes and sizes. Admission is just $5 for adults, with kids 12 and under free. Don't forget to also check out the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club's layout progress down at their club building, open to the public for free all day long. Interested in being a vendor or displaying your organization or model railroad layout? Check out our website at www.hawkeyemodelrrclub.com/ 2025 train show. The 5th annual Iowa City Train Show, sponsored by ScaleSigns.com and the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club on Sunday, October 19th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Johnson County Fairgrounds in Iowa City, Iowa. We'll see you at the show. Are you tired of seeing the same old clean trains on your layout? Do you want realistic rolling rust buckets or something that looks like it's been around a few years? What about a grimy oil stained locomotive? Alan at Alan's N Scale World is just your guy. He specializes in custom weathering of any scale and has 3 different stages of weathering to choose from. He also hand paints some of the coolest N scale semis and trailers on the market. Get a hold of him today to find out what he can do for your model railroad. You can find him on Facebook at Alan's N Scale World or email him directly at allansnscaleworld@gmail.com. Alan's N Scale World, bringing you scale creations from real life situations.
Do you want a chance to get a free gift certificate to Broadway Limited Imports? Well, look in the description below. There is a link to our form to fill out. It's 1 entry per person. Thank you to Broadway Limited Imports who supports this podcast. Now, if you were interested in getting a second entry, like we said, this is 1 entry per person, but guess what? Our premium supporters who go on over to www.patreon.com/Model Railroad Talk and become a premium supporter by April 26th, 2025, will get a second entry automatically. We'll automatically put you in the list. Um, April 26th, 2025 is the last day that you're going to be able to put your name in the hat, and we will be doing a drawing the following week. And so get it, your entries in so we have as many as we can to draw from. So good luck to all my listeners, and thank you, Broadway Limited Imports. You guys are great. We are back from break. So before we get into talking about using photos for backdrop, first, I'd like to start out by saying that thank you for all the responses, emails, and stuff, and the people, the guests, listeners, the overabundance of communication, I guess is the best way to put it, that has came in. Um, I I've never thought I'd be that busy with getting back on emails and stuff like that. So, and the people that are wanting to and willing to come on to this podcast as a guest. So we have several, I would say several, the next probably several, that's all I can say, episodes with guests that are going to be on it. And that is just awesome. I know I've gotten response back from people that they enjoy the guests and the interviews and interrogations, whatever. I'm excited that, and that was my goal this year, was to change things up a little bit, and make things better, and move forward with the podcast and make it more for you guys, and from a down to earth, everyday model railroader type of perspective. And that's what this is all about. And let's remember, um, these productions, I firmly believe in teaching, promoting, and inspiring model railroaders. Um, without that, and trying to get the word out. That's what, and I've talked about it before, and I talk about it off and on, the model railroad revolution. Jump on board the model railroad revolution. Talk to somebody once a day, once a week, once a month, and if you have the opportunity, show them pictures, show them your layout. It doesn't matter the size of your layout. It could be just even a little module that is a display module, but you would be surprised at how many people like trains, but never probably even ever thought about doing a modeling them, or let alone really been around them. Or even if they were, it was when they were kids, or it's not an everyday thing. So to be able to see the looks on people's faces when they see a railroad or see pictures of a model railroad, that kind of thing is really awesome. And that's where I say join the model railroad revolution. So um on a final update, I want to throw this out there. Our website is, I'm pretty sure, done, other than we'll be adding content as time goes on. But the revision of it is done. www.modelrailroadtalk.com. And um, you can go on there now, and we've actually created a link to our store on there, where we have our new and improved t-shirt design. And so head on over there. You can order. It's through Square site, so everything's secure through them. And I am working actually on getting a stock of several different sizes of t-shirts in, not only so if somebody orders, I can get it shipped out, but for the train show that we're going to be at in Iowa City on October 18th, I believe it is. I don't have the info right in front of me, but and I'm going to come out. I've got a lot playing right here, but I'm going to, it is official now that I will be at that train show. It's the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club annual 2025 train show, and it will be in Iowa City at the county fairgrounds. But and you will hear an ad. The ad you just heard, I should say, that's the train show I'm going to be at. But anyways, I'm gonna have shirts there and I'll have stickers to give out, that kind of thing. But if you're interested and you want to support this podcast, head on over to our website. And at the top, there's a link that says shop, and it'll take you to our square site. Um, and you can order a t-shirt. They're not marked up super expensive. They are marked up enough that obviously we have to be able to cover what it cost us to have the shirt made, and our fees through there. However, I am working with the place that does our shirts, and they have offered me to do basically a storefront through them, and they would take care of the shipping and all that stuff. So, or take care of, I guess, not necessarily the shipping. There's still shipping costs, but like I would never have to touch your orders. They would ship them directly to you, and that saves a little bit of time and all that stuff. Because right now they're kind of made to order. So like you order on there, I'll get the order. I'll send a message over to them. Hey, I need these shirts. They'll get them made up and get them to me, and then I have to turn around and ship them out. Well, there's extra delay there where once they get that site set up, um, I'll change that link from my Square site to that, and not only that, but I once they get that site set up, I'll be offering not only t-shirts, but sweatshirts, and I'm looking at actually getting into potentially offering embroidered hats. So, if you are interested, if you hear this and you think you'd be interested in an embroidered hat of Model Railroad Talk, send us an email, modelrailroadtalk@gmail.com. Um, or actually, we actually now have a new phone number for the podcast. Now, mind you, this is not a manned number. Yes, I get the messages through my phone, but I'm not answering on it as far as a phone call, like talking. But you can send a text message to this 563-293-1212. That's 563-293-1212. But or you can email us, like I said, modelrailroadtalk@gmail.com. Reach out to us through one of our, channels, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and let us know. Are you interested in being able to have Model Railroad Talk hats, along with, obviously, we're going to have sweatshirts and t-shirts, that kind of thing. Always looking at trying to find more stuff for people. Now moving on, using photos for your backdrop to give it depth. It doesn't matter whether you're doing like me, more in town city scene, or maybe you're doing out west, rolling landscapes, or you're doing the mountains. Let's face it, none of us have the space to build as deep and whatnot as we ultimately like. So we have to do some trickery to the eye with not our backdrops, right? To make the scene seem deeper than what it is. And while I know this is not a new concept by no means, but this is more geared towards if you're newer to the hobby or looking at coming in the hobby. Hey, how do they do that? Um, you can go online and just Google search and do several searches. I know I've done that. Industrial building backdrop, industrial buildings, industrial photos, just try different terms until you find what you like, or take your picture or take your phone or camera, go out. If there's a specific area that you think would be cool as a backdrop, I did that actually down from my work. Um, Standing outside my work, I thought it would be cool. It's got a GPC, which is like basically a grain processing centers. Then there's Mississippi, or I'm sorry, Muscatine Power and Water, their coal plant, and just some other businesses. And I just stood there and took pictures, and then I put them all together, and I have Photoshop Elements. And let me tell you, an old version, it's like Photoshop Element 6, but hey, it still works for what I need. I put them together in there, and then you print them out. It's gonna be trial and error. You're gonna figure out the size and stuff, but by adding that kind of stuff, just like we do, like they say with weathering, you want to layer your weathering. You start with your base and then you add on top of it, because face it, that's how uh, the prototype is. That's how real life is. That's kind of the same with your backdrop. and photos for your backdrop to make the scene seem deeper than what it is. I made a mistake in one area of my railroad that I put some, in a sense, foreground buildings. They're ones I printed off, and they're just stuck to the background because my that section, I mean, we're only talking a 6, 8 inches deep. I jumped the gun on it, but I'm gonna be able to make it work. But, um, you wanna layer it. Okay, so you find your industries that are farther away. You don't want them as big as, unless, you're doing, like, say, a skyrise or something. Um, but you wanna lay those down in strategic places, whatever looks best for you. Then you can go and, okay, maybe the buildings are gonna be a little bit closer, even if you're just printing them off flat. Whether you do, like, modelbuildings.org and just do the fronts, or you will go out and take a picture of an actual building, the front, and print it flat. You layer it to what's the closest. Um, but, when you do this, your pictures, you're gonna more than likely have sky background, or, um, not just sky background, but other things that you really don't want in the picture. Cut those out. However, some people say you need to cut out exactly along the building lines and get that sky out, because the sky blue is not maybe, or it's not gonna match the color of your blue on your backdrop, if, that kinda thing. There's the other side to it. I used to be that type where it was like, okay, you don't wanna see that line, but I tried it. I tried it on my old railroad, and actually left just a little hint of the blue sky outline on the pictures I did for my backdrop. And yes, while the blues are different, it still, in my opinion, looks better than having that hard, like, the color of the building line up against the color of your backdrop, right? Um, it kinda gives it that it softens the transition from whatever your image is to the backdrop. Having a little bit of extra blue around whatever it is you're cutting. Plus, let's face it, there's a lot of really small detail that most people don't think. Antennas, power lines, and stuff that, you know, you may think that you want to cut them out because, oh, I don't need them, but leaving them in gives it that little bit of extra. Is somebody really going to see it? Not, maybe not firsthand, but, eventually somebody will see it and be like, well, that's kind of cool, even though it's just a picture. It adds to the effect, the drama of it, right? So, yeah, using, um, photos in Photoshop or whatever your photo editing is, CorelDRAW, whatever. I know for my setup, and let's face it, most of us don't have large format printers where we can print however long we want. I had to learn this actually just recently, but taking your photo, say, I'm going to revert back. I'm just going to keep saying Photoshop because that's what I use. But I actually saved, um, my photo when I was done with it. Yeah, it was longer or whatever. I saved it as a PDF, and then I turned around and opened it up in my, well, Acrobat or whatever, it's on your computer. I opened it up in there, and when you go to print, at least with mine anyways, it gives you options of, you can print it on one page, and have it cut off or have it scaled down, or there's another one where it's posters. You can print a poster, and basically what it does is it takes your, what is it, 8.5 by 11 paper, and it prints it on multiple pages, and you can opt to have it give you cut lines and stuff like that. But then you let it print it out on the multiple pages, cut your edges real sharp as you can with a knife and a ruler or scissors if you're good. Tape them together and, um, cut it out to fit on your backdrop. And, applying to your backdrop, we're not going to get in that. Some You can use the Formula 77 3M stuff. I use double sided tape because I figure if there's a building I don't like, I can at least take it down. Yeah, with my, bulletin board paper, yeah, it may rip it a little bit, but if I'm putting a building up over it, who cares? You're not really gonna see it. I can cover it up, and besides with it, I can go back and dry brush in clouds or something in that area if need be. Um, And so far, the double-sided tape I use is a 3M. It's permanent. It works great. It's still holding my backdrop up in places I originally put it up, um, on, quarter inch, what do you call it? Wafer board or whatever, OSB. So, um, so yeah, I mean, think about that. And even if there's a building that, you find a picture of and, size it up. I know there's sometimes if you scale something up, printing it wise, it may get fuzzy, but depending on where it's gonna be on the backdrop, who cares? If it's gonna be a distant, building, that fuzziness might actually be good. It'll show some of the, what do they call that? Haze or whatever. That's environmental haze. You have to think like that. So yeah, think about that. Looking up photos and stuff like that are great for the backdrop. There again, eventually I'm going to do a video on our YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page and whatnot. I will, um, be posting some pictures once I get a few more areas done. And actually, I've posted a few pictures on our Facebook page. I know the or the Kansas City Southern Iowa Eastern Division page I did, but yeah, it does add to the backdrop, even if like with me, I'm still plywood Pacific, even though I've painted the plywood so it's brown, but still, or light brown. It does add to it, and doing little things like that actually help bring your focus and your vision in on what you want. It starts to help you really visualize certain areas, and then as you get certain areas done, it helps you visualize the areas in between and so on and so forth. So, don't ever be afraid to do that. All right. We have just a little bit of time left. Um, Before we dig into our book of interesting things, um, 100 or 400 thrilling and unbelievable train facts. I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. Uh, let's I wanted to talk about what to do if you're in a slump. I know it's easy to get into a slump. I've been talking with our good friend Eric. Um, I know he has been in some slumps with his 1 inch scale GP60M. I've been in slumps with my railroad. Um, it's what do you do? Sometimes it takes something as simple as that one railroad friend or person that you talk to about your railroad. Sometimes it just takes talking with them, pushing each other, a little nudge here and there, the camaraderie. Sometimes it takes nothing. Let's face it, sometimes I do this quite a bit, depending on what my day at work or the week's been like at work. I'll come down the layout and be like, all right, I want to get this done, or at minimum, I'm going to get just this little piece done. And we've talked about that before. Even if you just go down and it's something that just takes 5 minutes, and it's in the positive forward direction. I do firmly believe that. We all have at least 5 minutes of spare time in a day. Well, most of us do anyways, but unless you're traveling, obviously. But there's just times though I've said that. Oh, I'm just gonna go out and do this. And then I get down here and I'm like, I just don't really want to do that. What do you do? What I, and we talked about this, go upstairs, get on your computer. And even if you may not be at this point, start working on uh, rules and regulations or whatever for your railroad. Creating switch lists, or even just doing research. We just talked about photo backdrops. You don't feel like printing anything, you don't feel like building anything, well, you could sit there and start searching backdrops. Save them to your phone or your device that you're using. And then when you do feel time, you can take that and be more productive. But don't think of it as not being productive, because you are actually being productive. Just something as simple as or looking up photos for a particular car. If you're like me, Mo I would say a majority, if not all my locomotives are eventually, I am going to model them per the latest prototype photo I can find of them, or prototype information. So what's it hurt to, even though if it's a project down the road, what's it hurt to start looking up stuff for that particular rail car, that particular locomotive, maybe that scene you're building, or even, maybe you're not at that point. You're like, I don't know what I want to do. Well, do research. Maybe you are getting into DCC, or maybe you've had DCC, but you want to start putting sound in your locomotives. Go to ESU, or go to Soundtracks or Digitrax, whatever, and a lot of, or all of them actually have downloadable files, PDFs, what have you, that give you information on their stuff about installation, about programming, all that stuff, and just read. Even simply sitting there picking up a issue of Model Railroad or RMC or Trains magazine or a book, you are still doing something. You're feeding your mind that is helping you potentially inspire that one project maybe you're trying to work on and figure out. Or maybe that one scene or that one car or locomotive, what have you. If you're always at least doing something in the positive motion, or forward motion, you're always helping yourself. And that's part of the model railroad revolution as well, keeping yourself inspired and to be able to inspire others. So, anyways, moving forward, let's go to our 400 plus thrilling and unbelievable train facts for enthusiasts. This one is coming from famous railroad engineers in history. um, It feels like I've read this one before, but I don't have it marked, so we'll read it again. Whatever. If I've read this again, I apologize. George Stephenson, often referred to as the father of railways, Stephenson was a pioneering figure in the development of steam locomotives. He designed the famous rocket locomotive, which won the Rainhill trials in 1829 and became a symbol of the railway age. So, that is from 400 plus thrilling and unbelievable train facts. I guess some housekeeping reminder: we have our contest giveaway going on until April 26th. Link in the description, or you can go to our website. There's a link there. Go to our Facebook or any of our YouTube videos, recent YouTube videos, I should say. We got links to our form. Sign up. It's free. No, what do you call it? No purchase to enter for the $50 gift certificate to Broadway Limited's online store. Of course, it's one entry per person, but if you want a second entry, why don't you think about becoming a premium supporter? Head on over to patreon.com/Model Railroad Talk. And anybody that gets through the free trial and it actually comes off the free trial and is a full-fledged premium supporter by April 26th, will automatically get a second entry. And even if you maybe don't enter and you do say, hey, I'd like to support the podcast, and you become a Patreon member, you're going to get entered anyways twice. So that's the way I roll. I make sure I take care of my peeps. I know I'm old. That didn't sound right coming from me. I apologize. Or if you want another way, you don't want to do necessarily a recurring thing, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/MODRAILTLK. And even a one-time $5 support would gain you a second entry. So there's like I said, one entry per person, but premium supporter, you get a second one automatically. Or if you're interested, you just want to, we do have a PayPal account set up for Model Railroad Talk, and that's at Model Railroad Talk or modelrailroadtalk@gmail.com, what have you. Send them one through there. And just please put a little note in there, so when I get it, it helps me. But yeah, if you're interested in that, sign up. It's free. We don't ask a lot of questions. We're not going to bombard you with emails, nothing like that. This is not in a sense, a marketing scheme to get your info so we can overload your email and spam you all the time. That's not what it is. It's literally just we had to find a way to get people to be able to enter, and so we can put them into a spreadsheet, and the day we'll pick a number and that person wins. So, like I said, check out our website, www.modelrailroadtalk.com. And of course, check out our supporter, Broadway Limited, at www.broadway-limited.com. And don't forget to check out our good friend Alan over at Alan's N Scale World. He is on Facebook under Alan's N Scale World, or you can email him, allansnscaleworld@gmail.com, or hit up Scott over at Scott's Trains. Email him, scottlove57@gmail.com. But don't forget to head on over to our YouTube channel, Model Railroad Talk, like and subscribe over there. But check out our two friends there. Also, War Bonds. That's Eric. He's doing the 1-inch scale. Check out him. Give him a like and subscribe. And don't forget our good friend Benjamin, who's doing the N scale KCS Baxter Springs Lawton branch. He's under Benjamin Trains or on YouTube. So head on over there. Give him a like and subscribe. He deserves it. He's doing great things over there in N scale and his prototype modeling. So, as always, feel free to reach out to us, modelrailroadtalk@gmail.com. You go to our website. We're excited that we have a link on our website for all of these audio podcasts. And unfortunately, this weekend it's going to be a little busy. I'm going to try to start doing recording some video if I get a chance. But I'm hoping to get another YouTube video out in the next week or so. So, anyways, I want to thank everybody who has listened to this, who has liked this, who has shared it. Those that have gone over to YouTube and subscribed over there, liked and subscribed. The same with our Facebook page, so on and so forth, yada, yada. Thank you to you all. You guys make this all worth it. So, as we always say, until the next episode, keep your train on the tracks.